Show about our exciting Pacific West Conference. The PacWest is made up of NCAA Division II universities from Arizona and Utah to California and Hawaii. It's the most beautiful and diverse athletic conference in the entire NCAA. This is Commissioner Bob Hogue, inviting you to join our outstanding coaches, student athletes, and administrators as we talk about the great excitement in the PacWest. Now here's Assistant Commissioner Tom Camillo, live from our studios in Santan, Arizona.
It's a not so beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's actually really hot outside.
It is 105.6 and going up rapidly.
And it's just noon here in the Santan Valley.
And 4 o'clock's the hottest time of the day, so it's going to be about 180 today.
Oh, that's, again, we talked about this earlier. That's Venus, right? Venus is about 900 degrees.
More like Saturn, I think.
Yeah. Oh, maybe so. Welcome to PacWest Magazine Radio. Tom DiCamillo along with Joe Carrero. We are live in the Santan Valley in the studios of KQCK, and it's summertime, and the student athletes are off during the summer. They may be taking class, but the competition has ended for the year. But that doesn't mean the conference, the Pacific West Conference, shuts down, and athletic departments don't shut down because you gear up for the upcoming year that starts very quickly here in August. With practices coming back, you have freshmen coming back, but you also have the time at this time of the year to reflect on some of the accomplishments that have taken place throughout the Pacific West Conference, and we've been doing that a little bit over the last few weeks. We talked about the Community Engagement Award that was shared by Academy of Art University and Dixie State College of Utah. Jason Booth, the AD at Dixie State, and Jamie Williams, the AD at Academy of Art, joined us last week. And today we're going to talk about something that actually impacts a lot of people. It's an organization that's actually beyond athletics. It's called the Make-A-Wish program, and many people are familiar with that. And the Division II student athletes have really taken ownership of helping support the Make-A-Wish program. And in the Pacific West, or what is known as the SAC committee, has put together a program to try to raise money and benefit the Make-A-Wish program. And last year, the Pacific West Conference initiated a program in the student-athlete group and the institution that raises the most funds. And this year, Grand Canyon University, well, for the second consecutive year, they've won it both years, but the Grand Canyon University raised more than $11,000 for the Make-A-Wish program. It's an outstanding accomplishment. It more than doubled, or nearly doubled, the $6,500 that the Antelope Athletic Program earned last year. And then also, as a whole, the Pacific West Conference raised over $26,000 for the Make-A-Wish program, and that was a 30%. That was 30%, Joe, above the goal that was set by the student athletes that comprise the PacWest SAC committee. So it really is an outstanding event. And joining us today is going to be Blake Shilley, who helps coordinate those programs at Grand Canyon University. And I know Joe's going to tap into him right now, see if we can get Blake on the line. To talk about what Grand Canyon does and their success in raising this much money. And it's an award that obviously recognizes who raises the most, but all the student athletes in the Pacific West Conference, all the institutions participate in some type of fundraising for this program. And in case many of you don't know what the Make-A-Wish program is, it's a foundation designed to enrich the lives of children with life-threatening medical conditions through its wish-granting program. The foundation's mission reflects the life-changing impact that a Make-A-Wish experience has on children, families, referral sources, donors, sponsors, and entire communities. It was founded back in 1980 when a young boy had his wish fulfilled of becoming a police officer, and more than 250,000 children around the world have been helped by the Make-A-Wish program. There's more than 25,000 volunteers. It's a network of more than 25,000 volunteers that serve children. And then you throw in, conferences, the NCAA Division II student athletes. You throw in conferences like the Pacific West Conference, and those numbers increase exponentially. And it's just an outstanding program, and it's really something that's near and dear to the heart of the student athletes. Many people know that there are children out there, some of them with serious illnesses, some that will not make it, unfortunately, to adulthood, but to grant those wishes to meet a superstar, to go to Disney World, to do something different in their lives before they, while they have this time, on this earth, is a really great mission, a really great cause to be part of. And joining us now is Blake Shilley from Grand Canyon University. Blake, welcome to the program.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We're glad that you can join us, and we want to talk about the Make-A-Wish program and Grand Canyon's success in raising the money. But before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about what your title is and what you do at Grand Canyon?
Well, I've been involved with Grand Canyon since I was a student. Graduated in '06 and started working in the athletic department then with Keith Baker and some of the other fine folks there, and mostly in charge of overseeing the Student Athlete Advisory Committee for Grand Canyon. But like anybody who works in athletics, you do kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah, talk about what the Student Athlete Advisory Committee is. Explain to people what that is and what the mission is of that organization.
Student Athlete Advisory Committee is it's a committee made up of one player from each sport, and they represent their team as a whole to the athletic department. So each team's comprised of one member, and they join together in this Student Athlete Committee, and they talk about how can we make the athletic department better, what things are going right, what things are going wrong, what things we need to improve on, and then they make those recommendations to the administration and anybody who needs to make the decisions to help make the student athlete experience that much better.
Do you find that the student athletes that participate in this, it gives them a life experience, helping them prepare when they go out in the world?
I think it gives them tremendous life experience from the standpoint that they are basically the team leader, and they represent their respective team to people who make decisions. So they're in a position, that they're going to be faced with the real world where they need to figure out, how to solve problems, how to be a leader, and how to contribute to the overall health of an organization. So I think it helps them tremendously. We've had a lot of students over the last few years who have been involved with the Student Athlete Advisory Committee who have gone on to great things.
Let's talk about the Make-A-Wish program. And we talked a little bit before you came on the air explaining what Make-A-Wish was about. But how is the Make-A-Wish program integrated into what Grand Canyon University does and what its SAC committee does?
The Make-A-Wish program is something that we take extremely seriously from the standpoint that we've been blessed with a lot, and therefore we want to give a lot back. And it's basically our main mission for the Student Athlete Advisory Committee is to raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And, from the standpoint that it is such a great organization, and we get to see the fruits of our labor just go to such a great organization such as Make-A-Wish. And, the student athletes have done a great job just buying into that and executing the vision.
And this year, the athletic department nearly doubled the amount at Grand Canyon of what was raised. I think last year it was around $6,500. This year it was over $11,000. How did you increase the amount by that much to help this program?
I think there's a couple of things that really contributed to increasing even more, and not in our wildest dreams did we raise over $11,000. It's really a tribute to the administration and the athletic department and all of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee members working together as a whole. 2 years ago, administration decided that we were no longer going to charge admission for sporting events on campus, and that we would collect donations for various programs, organizations out there who needed charities to raise money for. And Make-A-Wish is probably the most prominent that we raise money for. And I'd like to tell one story about just this year and how the commitment level of our student athletes really, I think, set the bar a little bit higher. And that was on New Year's Eve on December 31st, 2011. We had an all-day wrestling tournament taking place on campus. And all the student athlete advisory committee members that were in town, because it was over Christmas break, so everybody who was in town, sat and raised money at this event all day. And we were able to raise $599 that day alone. And the athletes worked from 7 a.m. until about 3 or 4 p.m. And it was just after that day we knew we had something special going this year to reach that high amount.
When you do a program like this, and a lot of times you raise money, and it could be as part of the community engagement, it's a lot of different things that institutions do and student athletes get involved with. It could be helping people in the community, going and mowing their lawn, or helping them fix something in their house. Or a lot of times student athletes get involved with shoveling snow in some of the northern communities. But when you have this program, this Make-A-Wish program, and it involves children, is it an emotional tie? And do the student athletes really kind of feel it? It's just something different that they're working toward?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to see some of the stories. We've been able to build a relationship with the local chapter of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, so it's Make-A-Wish Arizona, and we've been able to build a relationship with them to where we've hosted a Make-A-Wish night for the last 2 or 3 years, where we invite local families who have a child in the Make-A-Wish program. We invite them to campus for a basketball game, and they have pizza with us and hang out and just have a great time. And to see some of the things that these kids are going through, it tugs on your heart a lot, and it definitely, I believe, makes the student athletes realize that, we're athletes and we're students, but at the end of the day, we need to help those who are less fortunate and, just make their lives as good as we can possibly make them. And it's been great to have them on campus and be able to contribute that way. When
I know when you had the Make-A-Wish night this year, I was up at Grand Canyon and came into the booth, saw some of the families that were there. When the student athletes get an opportunity to meet them, it must have a powerful impact because you're actually seeing the people they're benefiting.
Yeah, it's awesome because one of the things that they got to do this year, they got to interact with the kids, and the kids are there for 2 or 3 hours enjoying the game. And mostly the student athlete advisory committee members, they come and help out with it and just hang out with the kids, have a great time. And I think it allows the parents to, come out and bring their families and just enjoy themselves at, our games. And then, it's almost, I'm not going to say necessarily a built-in babysitter, but it's kind of like that to where the parents get to enjoy a night to themselves too, enjoying basketball, but our students get to, hang out with the kids. And we had a little dance party out on center court for all the kids that were in attendance in the whole arena. So the Make-A-Wish kids got to be involved with that as well with our student athletes.
That's an underestimated value because parents that deal with this on an everyday basis, and not just the financial issues dealing with it, but the commitment that when a child is sick and it's always on their mind every day, knowing that this is something you're dealing with, to have an event, to come to an arena like Grand Canyon's arena, and to be able to kind of set all that aside for a few hours has to really give the parents an opportunity to just kind of relax, may not be the best term, but just to kind of step away from the reality of what they're going through for a few hours.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's great because they just get to, and I do think they get a chance to relax a little bit and just, share a night with us and, whatever we can do to make it better, even for one night. I mean, I know that it's great to hear the stories and get to hear, what wishes they want to have fulfilled. I mean, we've had kids who, their wish was to go out on a lake with jet skis for the whole family, and, they were able to fulfill that. And then, one of the things that we're in the process of doing is working with the local chapter to actually adopt a wish for, a boy who has an illness who wants to go visit France. So we're actually in the process of hopefully getting to meet him and, just give the parents some relief and interact with them and help grant that wish.
What are the age groups of the young people that get the wishes? They have an opportunity. Is it just young kids, or does it range into teens? What's the kind of the age group for this organization?
It does range. Very little kids have wishes granted all the way up to, I believe, 18. I believe 18 might be their cutoff. I'm not 100% sure about that. But the wish that we're in the process of hopefully adopting, the boy is 16 years old. So he's 16, but then a lot of the kids that came to Make-A-Wish night, 8, 9, somewhere in there, and a lot of them, they want to go to Disney World or go to Disneyland. I believe that's about 75% of the wishes that the Make-A-Wish Foundation grants is wishes to theme parks and, Orlando, Anaheim, places like that. So it does range in age quite a bit.
Now, the Grand Canyon's efforts in the Make-A-Wish program obviously earned the institution the award the first 2 years, last year and this year, that the PacWest has offered it. What does that mean to the institution to get this kind of award?
Honestly, I can speak for myself in saying that when we first started doing this a few years ago, we knew that Division II had an initiative to raise money across the board, and they've been able to do that tremendously. And, from the Grand Canyon standpoint, we started it and we weren't raising that much. We were in the $400 range the first couple of years. And then the student athletes just bought in tremendously to wanting to raise money for this thing. And, it's exceeded all of our wildest expectations. This year, our goal was really to try to raise the most money in the whole country. And the Student Athlete Advisory Committee bought into that big time. The athletic department bought into it, and we were able to raise this much money. So, it means a lot just because of where we've come from and how far we've been able to take this fundraising to levels that we never expected.
Do you have an opportunity with the local chapter? And I'm not, again, the program, obviously nationally, the young people get an opportunity to have a wish granted. But are there opportunities with the local chapters to grant wishes locally? Obviously, it's maybe a smaller financial commitment.
There are opportunities. The wish that we're trying to grant, he's a local guy that lives around the valley. They have wishes that you can grant in the $2,500, $5,000, $7,500, and $10,000 range, and they kind of break it down based on those amounts. So you could adopt a wish in the $2,500 range to upgrade a room or something like that in the child's house to give them a small wish that way. 5,000 I believe is somewhere similar to what a $2,500 wish is, where you enhance their room. 7,500 is more along the lines of a Walt Disney World trip, things of that nature, and 10,000 is also a very nice trip. That's typically what they want to do, is go on trips somewhere. So, there's all kinds of ranges that you can do, and it is very locally driven as well as nationally driven.
We're talking with Blake Shilley of Grand Canyon University, and Grand Canyon earned the second straight PacWest Make-A-Wish Award after raising more than $11,000 for the Make-A-Wish program. And the award that the PacWest gives out goes out to the institution, the institution and the student athletes who raised the most money. In Grand Canyon, again, over $11,000 that they raised for the Make-A-Wish program this year, nearly doubling the amount that they raised last year. It's a tremendous program. And Blake, explain a little bit. As the student athletes work in these SAC committees and they do these programs at their institutions, but then there's also a SAC committee that's comprised of all the schools within the Pacific West Conference, and there's representatives sent there. And I know Grand Canyon hosted that SAC meeting a few years ago. Kind of explain to the listeners how that works.
At each university, there's a student athlete advisory committee that basically talks to the local or your university administration, athletic directors, administrators, things of that nature. And then our PacWest SAC, it's a time for 1 to 2 students from each institution in the PacWest to get together and meet and talk about, what are some things we can do as a conference to make the overall experience better. it's basically a student-athlete, student government is the way I explain it to most people. Just to talk to Commissioner Hogue and talk to you, Tom, and Jane and whoever is there, administrators from other schools, just to give ideas. Hey, what's Grand Canyon doing that works? How can we implement that at Chaminade, Dixie, anywhere across the board? And, one of the things that they wanted to do was really enhance the fundraising for Make-A-Wish as a PacWest conference overall. And, going back a little bit to your question about what, raising as much money means at Grand Canyon, it means a ton as well that the PacWest was able to raise over $26,000 this year. That's a huge effort across the board. And, that means a ton as well.
We talked about before you came on the air with us that the PacWest raised $26,189.60, comprised of the schools of the Pacific West Conference, and it was more than 30% above the goal that the PacWest SAC committee set. That's an amazing sort of overage, if you have it, that they were able to accomplish when you set one goal, and to be able to raise more than 30% higher of what you had established. It really says a lot about the commitment to this program.
It does, and they, not only that, but they've done a great job the last few years of when we get together for these conferences. It's usually in the fall. Get together and meet face to face. There's always a community service event that takes place. I know that when the event was down here in Phoenix, we went to a park behind Grand Canyon and played baseball with some of the neighborhood kids and just served the community that way, and just interacted with them and let them have a great time with some of the student athletes from across the whole conference. So, they've done a great job not only with Make-A-Wish, but just, in making the experience across the whole board that much better.
With a number of student athletes participating in this program, have you come across either Grand Canyon or even through the PacWest where a student athlete may know somebody or have a family member that has a serious illness that and understands what the families are going through?
Funny you should ask that. I think it hit everybody pretty hard in 2000. I think it was 2008 when we hosted the conference. So we started talking about Make-A-Wish and what it means in the Division II, across the board, and how we need to raise money for Make-A-Wish, because not only is it the right thing to do, but it's just something that Division II wants to focus on as well. And we were talking about what Make-A-Wish was and everything like that. And one of the student athletes that was in attendance was like, "Yeah, I was a Wish kid when I was
wow.
a little girl." It was stunning. And she talked about everything that she went through and what the Make-A-Wish Foundation meant to her. And I think at that point it kind of helped us turn a corner of, wow, this is for real. We're raising money for something that is so great and can help so many people.
That's got to be an amazing sort of moment in people's lives when one of your peers in the organization helping you raise this money says, I was a Make-A-Wish kid, and this is what it did for me. It's got to. You're right. It had to be one of those epiphanies for a lot of the student athletes, saying this is real. This is not just money going on a check being handed to somebody.
Absolutely. It was amazing, and there really aren't any words to describe how awesome of a feeling that was, to kind of bring that group together and say, hey, yeah, this is where we're headed, and I think it's going to grow a lot.
Now, looking forward, how does the planning work for the future? Obviously, during the summer, the student athletes, some move on because they graduate. You have some new ones that come in to the SAC program. And for Grand Canyon, obviously this takes a lot of coordination and planning. What are you looking toward for next year?
Definitely looking forward to our returning student athletes. We have a couple of student athletes who have been on the committee since they were freshmen, sophomore in college, so they're kind of the seasoned veterans now, and they buy into everything that we're doing, and they really help lead the charge for, not only raising money for Make-A-Wish, but other community engagement activities that we take part in. Like, one of the things we did this past year was not raise money, but collect hotel toiletries and give them to the Phoenix Rescue Mission. So it's something that we did that the athletes, really bought into. So right now I'm just talking to, our current members from the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and they're helping me get a plan together of what we want to accomplish next year. And then we're talking to the coaches and trying to figure out, who do you want to represent your team? Because, obviously seniors move on and we have to replace them with, underclassmen or even a senior, junior from this past year as well. So right now just trying to get a committee together and keep working towards raising money for Make-A-Wish.
Do the members of the representatives from each of the teams, do they change over every single year? Or there's some that continue on maybe for 2 years or 3 years if they start when they're a freshman or sophomore?
Our incoming president, I believe, will be entering his 4th year participating in the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. So they're able to stay on as long as they, want to be involved, and as long as they're on the team and attending Grand Canyon. So, and we've had a couple of people who graduated this past year who are on the committee for 3 years. So it's great to have the seasoned veterans so they can help show the freshmen and maybe a sophomore who comes in, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we're all about. And it's just like any other team. You learn from the veterans that have been around.
Blake, we actually got a phone call into the studio a little bit ago. Joe, I think that you had a gentleman from Make-A-Wish actually called. I don't know if Joe's listening to me on his mic here. I think that, Joe, you said that that a gentleman called from Make-A-Wish. I think that they called in.
Yes, we had Perry call in from Make-A-Wish and said, thanks for the mentions. We appreciate that.
Well, that's terrific. We appreciate you calling in, Perry. And did he say what branch he was from, or just?
No, that's all he said. He was very nice, but very short.
Well, that's great. We're glad that we can help and promote this and have an opportunity for the student athletes of the PacWest to be able to do this. So for the upcoming year, Blake, that you guys will invite the families probably to a basketball game. Is that kind of the plan for this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been extremely successful in the past, so we'll not only look to have them out again for a Make-A-Wish night, but we'll look forward to hopefully finalizing the adopting of a wish, and then, just doing other community engagement activities that, will just help the surrounding community and allow our student athletes to serve people around them. So, yeah.
If there's listeners out there that are hearing this program and want to donate to Make-A-Wish and want to do it through Grand Canyon, is that something they could do through the Student Athlete Committee?
We don't have anything specific set up that way now. The one way that they could donate is to come out to some of our games next year. I don't think it's been finalized yet, but I believe that we will be collecting donations at all of our games. They could also possibly send in a check to the athletic department, and we could contribute that to our overall efforts next year as well. So we can work on that. That's something I can definitely try to plan for next year as well.
Okay, so if people want to check out the basketball schedule, they can just go to the Grand Canyon University Athletic website. If you want to give that to the listeners, they can look up the schedule when it's available and come out and check some of the athletic events.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the things that really contributed to the success this year as well, was that in 2010 and 11, we started that program of collecting donations at the gate, and I think some of our returning fans knew that that's what we were doing, and the people that contributed this year were extremely generous, so we appreciate that a lot.
Blake, we appreciate you being on the program. Thanks a lot. Congratulations on the award, but most of all, a lot of kudos to all the student athletes and to you and to the rest of the Grand Canyon University Athletic Department, any institution, for just a terrific job this year in raising the money for the Make-A-Wish program, and keep it up in the future. You're making a lot of young people happy.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
Blake Shilley from Grand Canyon University, and Grand Canyon winning the PacWest Make-A-Wish program, raising more than $11,000 this year, nearly doubling the amount that they raised last year, and just a terrific thing. So Joe, next week we'll finalize some of the guests. I will be out of town the next 2 weeks, and we will have probably some guest hosts on, and then I will be back on July 5th, unless you're on vacation that time.
No, I am not.
So, but we'll definitely have shows the next 2 weeks, and we will have either Bob Hogue or Wayne Coito from the Pacific West Conference will host the show. So for Joe Carrero, I'm Tom DiCamillo. Thanks for listening to PacWest Radio, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Life can be tough, and good people can face great challenges. My name is Mark Windsor, and I'm an experienced attorney and counselor at law. I've helped many good people work through financial struggles and regain financial stability and prosperity. It can be overwhelming dealing with creditors, the frustrations of a loan modification, struggling with the stress of a short sale. Sometimes your decisions can lead to risks down the road that you couldn't